Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining me today because we are setting the stage for a deep dive into one of history's most complex, fascinating, and, honestly, most enduring deities. We're talking about a figure whose story has literally spanned 5 millennia. It shaped an entire civilization's understanding of the cosmos, of life, of death, and of absolute power. So grab your notebook, get comfortable, and let's unravel the epic 5,000-year-old story of the ancient Egyptian god Horus.
Okay, let's just jump right in. Where have you seen this eye before? Because I guarantee you have. Maybe you've seen this famous, stylized falcon eye silhouette in a movie, or maybe printed on a t-shirt, or hanging from a piece of jewelry, or, of course, in your history books. It is an incredibly pervasive symbol, but what does it actually mean?
Well, this is the wedge shot, universally known today as the Eye of Horus. To the ancient Egyptians, this wasn't just some cool aesthetic design. It was a potent symbol of royal power from the deities themselves. It represented protection and the warding off of evil. Funerary amulets were actually carved into its shape to protect the dead in the afterlife. But it had everyday practical uses too. Ancient Egyptian and Near Eastern sailors would actually paint this exact symbol on the bows of their vessels to ensure safe sea travel. They essentially wanted the all-seeing Eye of Horus looking out for them on dangerous waters.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the all-seeing sky god. Second, revenge against Uncle Set. Third, protector of the pharaohs. Fourth, the many forms of Horus. And finally, an enduring cultural legacy.
Chapter 1. The All-Seeing Sky God.
When we picture Horus, we typically see a man with the head of a falcon, most likely an indigenous lanner or peregrine falcon. His very name in ancient Egyptian translates roughly to falcon, the distant one, or one who is above. He was, first and foremost, a master of the heavens. As a sky god, he didn't just live in the sky. In a very real way to them, he was the sky. The Egyptians believed that the sun was literally his right eye, and the moon was his left eye. They believed these celestial bodies traversed the heavens because Horus, in his grand falcon form, was actively flying across it. It's just a breathtaking way to understand the mechanics of the cosmos, driven by the flight of a single, majestic bird.
But how exactly did Horus come to be? Well, the origin mythology is bizarre. It's highly dramatic, and it's absolutely foundational to Egyptian belief. Let's walk through it. Step 1. Set, the god of chaos, jealously murders his brother Osiris and scatters his dismembered body parts all over Egypt. Step 2. Osiris's devoted wife, Isis, uses her magic to track down and retrieve the pieces. She actually finds all of them except one, his reproductive organ, which apparently was eaten by a Medjed catfish in the Nile. Undeterred, Isis uses her magic to resurrect Osiris just long enough to fashion a replacement and conceive a child. Step 3. Knowing Set would absolutely want to slaughter the true heir, a pregnant Isis flees to the marshlands of the Nile Delta to hide, and there, in secret, she gives birth to her divine son, Horus.
Chapter 2. Revenge against Uncle Set. Now, Horus doesn't stay hidden in those marshes forever. He grows up with one clear mission given to him by his mother: avenge his murdered father, protect the people of Egypt, and claim his rightful throne. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that this conflict, which supposedly lasted over 80 years, wasn't just a family squabble. It was a cosmic war, representing the fundamental dualities the Egyptians saw in their world. On one side, you have Horus. He's the patron of Lower Egypt, representing the fertile lands around the Nile, the sky above, and the ultimate concept of order. On the other side is his uncle Set, the patron of Upper Egypt, representing the barren, harsh desert, the earth below, and pure chaos. So the battle between Horus and Set is really the eternal struggle to maintain balance in the universe.
After decades of just brutal fighting, during which Horus actually lost an eye and Set was heavily injured, the other gods grew completely exhausted. They needed to settle this once and for all. So the two rivals agreed to a challenge, a boat race. But there was a catch. They each had to race in a boat made of solid stone. Set, being a god of brute force, built a massive, heavy boat out of actual stone. Horus, on the other hand, used his cunning. He built a boat out of lightweight wood, but brilliantly painted it to look exactly like stone. When the race began, Set's incredibly heavy stone boat immediately sank right to the bottom of the river, while Horus's wooden boat glided effortlessly across the water. Through this clever trickery, Horus won the race, forcing Set to finally concede the throne of Egypt.
Chapter 3. Protector of the Pharaohs.
Pivoting from the realm of pure myth over to historical application, the story of Horus wasn't just some entertaining campfire tale, it was the theological foundation for the entire Egyptian state. The pyramid texts, which date back over 4,000 years, outline this genius theological system. To the ancient Egyptians, the ruling pharaoh wasn't just appointed by the gods. In life, he was considered a direct, living manifestation of Horus on earth, bringing order and regulating human society. But human kings eventually die. When a pharaoh died, he transitioned from being Horus into becoming Osiris, the lord of the afterlife. The throne was then passed to his successor, who became the new living incarnation of Horus. It was an unbreakable divine cycle that perfectly justified the absolute rule and the seamless succession of the pharaohs.
And the fascinating thing is, we can actually see echoes of real history buried in this myth. Remember how the conflict between Horus and Set ended with them reconciling and uniting the two lands? Well, archaeological evidence points to a time very early in Egypt's history when the southern Upper Egyptian kingdom conquered the northern Lower Egypt, officially uniting the country. The real-life rulers of a southern city called Nekhen, who worshipped Horus as their patron, spearheaded this. They literally called themselves the followers of Horus. So the myth of the god unifying the divided realm of order and chaos actually mirrors the real historical unification of the Egyptian polity.
Chapter 4. The Many Forms of Horus.
Okay, prepare yourselves because we are entering the densest part of the theology. If you read ancient Egyptian texts, you might get a bit confused because there isn't just one Horus. There are many. Think of it kind of like a divine multiverse. You've got Heru-Ur, or Horus the Elder, a primordial creator god worshipped at Letopolis. Then you have Heru-Pakred, Horus the Child, usually depicted as a youth sucking his finger, representing the vulnerable early morning light. You have Har-Emachket, Horus in the horizon, the dawn sun, who is actually the inspiration for the great Sphinx of Giza. And you've got Heru-Biheriti, Horus of the winged sun, which is a symbol of royalty you see carved over temple doors all across Egypt. Now, the modern mind tries to categorize these as contradictory stories, but to the ancient Egyptians, they weren't contradictions at all. These various forms were seen as different manifestations of the exact same multi-layered deity. Different attributes were emphasized depending on the city or the theological need, but they were all complementary facets of reality.
Chapter 5. An Enduring Cultural Legacy.
A god as foundational as Horus doesn't just fade into the sands of time. His story persists, both in scholarly debate and in modern entertainment. First, looking at the historical and academic discourse, there's a fascinating, albeit contentious conversation out there. Authors dating back to William R. Cooper in the 19th century and others more recently have suggested that the mythology of Horus shares striking similarities with the much later story of Jesus Christ, touching on themes of divine birth, resurrection, and savior motifs. Now, I want to be entirely clear that I am merely explaining the source material here, not taking a side or endorsing any viewpoint. But the crucial takeaway is that this theory remains highly controversial and is strongly disputed by mainstream historians and scholars. It just goes to show how thoroughly scholars continue to scrutinize the cultural impact of this ancient deity even today.
And then there's pure pop culture, where Horus is absolutely thriving right now. If you watch the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Horus is right there as part of the Ennead Council in the TV show Moon Knight. If you're a reader, he speaks directly to the main character in Rick Riordan's The Kane Chronicles. Gamers definitely know him as a formidable warrior-class god in the multiplayer arena Smite, or as a deity granting your army's movement speed in the recent strategy game Total War Pharaoh. And he was even brought to the big screen by actor Nikolaj Coster-Waldau in the fantasy film Gods of Egypt. Thousands of years later, we are quite literally still telling stories about this falcon-headed god. Which brings us to a final thought to chew on today. Just think about this timeline for a second. From amulets clutched by sailors on ancient seas and stone carvings on the Great Sphinx, all the way to Marvel TV shows and video games on our screens right now. It really begs the question, how many figures, human or divine, can honestly say their stories survived, adapted, and captivated humanity for 5,000 continuous years? The legacy of Horus isn't just ancient history. It's a testament to the incredible, lasting power of human storytelling. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today on The Explainer. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and I'll catch you on the next one.